Tonight is the night all you moderates have been waiting for. We got a show just for you. Here we go.
Get ready to fight from within. You're about to go behind enemy lines on K98.
Roger, 3-2. Reliance copies all. Go ahead. Target is surrounded by multiple firms entering what appears to be a residential area. Requesting permission to engage. Over.
From the People's Republic of New York City, you're now going behind enemy lines with Gene Baradelli and Russ Gallo.
And you are now behind enemy lines. Hey there, how you doing? Gene Baradelli here, flying solo tonight. Russ Gallo is on a much-needed vacation down in the sunshine state of Florida. But joining me right now as guest host, pundit, prognosticator, a little bit of a poet even, if you believe him, and definitely the biggest LeBron James fan I know, the chair of the Florida Federation of Young Republicans, Daniel Ross. Daniel, how you doing, pal?
I'm doing good. Coming at you from the 6th borough down here in South Florida.
That's what we call you as well. Basically, every we call it God's waiting room, but not where you are in beautiful Lauderdale by the sea. But how are things down in sunny Florida?
Oh, fantastic. We obviously had the Jeb launch the other day. We had Marco do it a few weeks before that, and things are really starting to heat up here. So the political landscape here is always interesting.
Absolutely. It's definitely getting interesting. Two bona fide candidates from your state in the same party are going to be duking it out. But we'll be getting to that in a little bit. Like we said, this is the show that every moderate has been waiting for, because this was the week that the so-called coronation, I guess some would say. Not me, because I'm not one of his haters, but there are plenty out there. Jeb Bush finally announced, and we'll be talking to Daniel about making the case for Jeb in just a little while. But first, I gotta talk about it, because everybody else has been talking about it, Daniel. I gotta talk about this fruitcake, this nut job, this woman from Spokane. I can't decide what color she is. Rachel Dolezal. I just can't anymore. Before we begin the segment, though, I just want to announce to everybody that I am now identifying myself as basically a dog. I'm going to go with today. Maybe in the next segment I'll be a horse. Daniel, what do you want to declare yourself to be for the next 10 minutes?
Declare myself? How about rich and famous? How about that?
There you go. Well, you are Republican, so that does work.
There we go.
But listen, in all seriousness, this woman...
Oh.
If Michael Jackson ever had someone in mind for the song Black or White, this is the woman.
Oh, man, this story has gone, from zero to sex tape in 72 hours. I mean, it's run the full gamut.
That was beautiful.
Yeah. I mean, it's run the full gamut of American 20 minutes of fame, hasn't it?
Oh, absolutely. She has gone full-on Jerry Springer in faster time than Jerry Springer, actually. For those of you who've been living under a rock for the past 72 hours or so, Rachel Dolezal is a woman who was the chapter president of the NAACP up in Spokane, Washington, and recently her parents from, I believe, Idaho, have outed her as being their daughter, first of all, but for also being white while pretending to be black. And it's sad in a lot of ways because, first of all, the NAACP doesn't have any requirement that you be black to be a part of their organization. So whether or not she did it and all that nonsense, I don't know. And it's just dumb to do. But then she doubles down on it by going on the Today Show at Matt Lauer and basically saying, yeah, I identify myself as black. What are you going to believe? Her or your lying eyes, Daniel?
Yeah, I think this is a bridge too far for a lot of people. I mean, this is coming on the heels of this Caitlyn Jenner, Bruce Jenner thing, and You know, that's a little more understandable as far as, as far as getting your hand. You just can't say you're black because, look, she's going out there, and what she wants is all the coolness that comes, the good stuff about being black. That's what she wants. And she hasn't lived a life to have suffered any of the, any of the bad parts about being black. So I don't know how you can just decide, I'm going to self-identify, I think there's a limit to this. I think there's a limit to, not so much our open-mindedness, but to our, the believability of it. It just doesn't wash for me. I mean, what's next? You can say you're anything now, just regardless of whether you've had that experience in life. I don't buy it at all.
It does boggle the mind a little bit. To me, this seems like, and I'm not a doctor. I'm nowhere near a doctor, but this seems like a little bit of delusion, a little bit of maybe mental illness. Maybe there's something going on in her head and her brain chemistry that is not really working well. But to go, and the reason I say this is because it's not just what happened in Spokane. There's been other things coming out, like you mentioned. The claims in her divorce papers that her husband made her do a sex tape. Claims against Howard University of racial discrimination because she's white. I mean, there's got to be something wrong here.
If you saw anything with the Matt Lauer interview, I guess she on the Today Show, yesterday talking about it, and the thing that he really got to the point, which is it was deceptive. She was being deceptive. She was not correcting anybody when, these the newspapers, call her biracial or transracial or whatever you want to, whatever words that they use there. She was openly deceptive. She perpetuated this myth that she was a black woman. And it's not that she was out there saying, oh, well, I'm white and I identify with the black experience. No, she was lying. Basically. Nobody else knew the truth until her parents outed her.
And what is wrong with being who you are and identifying with culture of any kind? There's nothing wrong with saying, you know what, I am who I am, but I identify and I relate to this culture. I relate to what these people believe. I relate to what this way of life is. Why do you have to deny and denigrate who you are to take on the persona of something else that you're not? That's what I don't get. That's where I think the mental illness is.
Wash. Yeah, that's where it doesn't wash. She was being deceptive. She was lying. She knew exactly what she was doing. There's no way around it. To say this is not an oops, I forgot to mention case. You were out there as the head of a local chapter of the NAACP. It doesn't get more black than that. I'm sorry. And for you to have been perpetuating this fraud on us, she needs to be called out for it. She is free, like you said, she is free to identify however she wants. It really doesn't bother me. But when you're going out and look, she caused real damage, like you said. She went and sued a university. That's real damage. That's a lie, and you need to be called out for that.
And there are other instances about making police reports and claiming that things happened to her in discrimination. Absolutely. That's where, and some people in the chat room right now are saying, the mental crap, they're not buying it, that it's more about that she knew what she was doing and she should be in jail for fraud. But to me, I feel like there's something else at work here. And you know what? Like I said, I'm not a doctor, but it just doesn't feel normal. It feels like there is something else at work in her head. I don't know.
Yeah, there's got to be, and who knows what turn this will take. It's already taken so many left and right turns here, with like I said, we've gone from zero to sex tape in 72 hours here. Who knows what's going to come out next? But, I think, look, she really, she doesn't owe me an apology. I, as a white person, I not me, but I think she does owe an apology to black people for going out there and, she was pretending she's something that she is not and something that she really can never be. Like I said, this is someone who grew up white. She had the benefits of being white, if you want to say that in our society. There's just got to be a line somewhere with this identity stuff.
I'm with you on that. And you know what? I'm sure that once she inks her Lifetime movie deal, and when she gets her true life story put on cable movies, and then everything will be, just fine. Because, of course, we're going to sensationalize this. We're going to popularize it. Who knows? This might be a trend, and it's scary to think that people will do this way.
Well, where does
it doesn't end. See, that's the thing. Hey, listen, I'm identifying as a dog tonight. So there you go.
Exactly.
It's not going to end.
If she says she's black, does this mean that she's... so what if I was going... Let's go back to when I was 18 and applying for college. So now I can check the black box? Well, what about scholarships? College kids are out there hustling to get money to pay to go to these expensive schools. Well, let's be honest. If you can say that you're a Native American, if you can say you're black, if you can say you're Asian or something like this, anything but white. There's some other opportunities out there for you to get money to go to school. And so can now you just say, well, I identify as an Asian, so I'm going to get this scholarship from this Asian American group? There's a lot of things that come up, and it's very dangerous to just say we're going to now live in a world where you can just identify as whatever you want, and now we have to accept it.
You know what? Maybe I should start identifying myself as Asian now. That might actually work for me. But you know what? Let's move on from this nonsense, because to me, is it newsworthy? Is it not newsworthy? I think it's worth a discussion, and but I don't think it's worth dwelling too much on. Like you said, her 15 years of fame are just about up.
It's about time to move on.
So, absolutely. So before we move on to the next topic of discussion here, I just want to remind everybody that during our live shows here, Wednesday at 10 p.m. on We Are America Radio, the number one political talk station on live365.com. We have a chat room going on at WayneDupree.com where you can listen live to the show, or at our website, www.BehindEnemyLinesRadio.us. You click the Listen Live button, and the chat room is right there for you to log into. Great people in the chat room always give us feedback during the show, and we use and sometimes credit what people say in the chat room. So jump in the chat with us, hang out, and have a good time, especially because of the topic we're going to be talking about now. And that is, ladies and gentlemen, the announcement was made. He's in. Oh my goodness, he's in. Jeb Bush, former governor of the great state of Florida, where our friend Daniel Ross is from. He's in the race, being the second candidate from the state of Florida to jump into the Republican primary scene. And Daniel had a front row view to the announcement, because he was there. Probably in his capacity as chair of the Florida Federation of Young Republicans, but probably also as a fanboy, because he really is one of the biggest Jeb supporters I've ever met. First, Daniel, tell us about what it was like to be there for that announcement.
It's always, it's the first time I've ever been to one. I did not have the opportunity to. I was out of town, was unable to go to Marco Rubio's thing at the Freedom Tower down there in downtown Miami. But I was able to be a part of this one. I was able to volunteer and help out with this. Very much, Jeb's getting the band back together. So, and South Florida has been his home, so it was nice to see a lot of people that I hadn't seen in a long time since his governor days. But yeah, it was great. It was it's always a pumped up atmosphere when you have someone declaring, and it was very much, a friendly crowd. His crowd was there, and it was a lot of fun, to be a part of something. I got a sweet video of him, coming out from the back room before he went, the man meeting the moment, so to say. So, it was great to be there, and I hope to be able to say that, when he walks into the White House, that I was there when it began.
So now, when you say getting the band back together, I know that has significant meaning from a political perspective, but why don't you let our listeners know what exactly that means? That means he's got his team that helped him win in Florida for the governor's mansion. They're back with him working on his race, right?
Yes, yeah. There's a lot of Jeb alumni that are, that have moved on either from in Tallahassee or D.C., and a lot of them have gotten back on board. And he's also got a lot of his brother's people and HW's people. The Bush family's a very big family. We like to say we're all a part of it down here. So. I think that's definitely going to lead into. I think that's definitely going to be one of his advantages is leading on this machine, this operation that he has.
I'm going to try to be as gentle as possible in this line of inquiry because my co-host Russ Gallo isn't here, and we're doing a show about Jeb, so he's going to obviously call conspiracy on me on this because he, like me, we have conservative leanings that we like to think are further to the right of Jeb Bush. Why? Let's make the case right now. Give me a couple of sentences why Jeb Bush will be the nominee, in your opinion.
Well, Oh, why he'll be the nominee? Well, look, certainly, like I just said, I mean, his operation is going to be first class. It's going to be wide. It's going to be a 50-state operation. So he's definitely going to have the foot soldiers, so to say, to get out there and win this thing on the ground. He's raised a lot of money. That's going to go a long ways. As you know, as this, some people are predicting that this primary season will drag on a little bit, perhaps as it did last time. So you got to have long legs for this thing. And look, I mean, Jeb's been here before. I mean, Jeb's, he defeated the Democrats down here in Florida, twice. And, we're really, I mean, the legacy that we have in Florida, I mean, Republicans still control this state very much because of what happened under, his control. I mean, we're very strong down here because of the years that he was in there. And I think as he goes around and, people get to know him better. I mean, he's been off the scene for a long time, and there's been a lot of people filling in the blanks on him, But I think, the more you hear from him, the more you're going to like.
Okay, so now let's talk about some of the things that we have heard, maybe not necessarily from him, but we've heard from others who are either surrogates attacking him or surrogates that are for him. First thing that comes to mind for me is Common Core. He put himself out there during the 2012 campaign and at the convention as a pro-education guy. That's going to be one of his big topics from when he went from then till now and going beyond. Is he a Common Core guy? And if yes, why is that a good thing? Or if no, why is that a good thing?
Well, I mean, look, Common Core is really not a yes or no, thing. I mean, it's a set of standards that are, implemented by the state. The states pick their curriculum, so it looks very different where it is. There's a lot of things that have, Jeb has suffered as, he's the straw man for this Common Core argument. And there's a lot of, false memes that go out there that are cute, about, Common Core is going to have kindergartners learning about sex. Or one of the ones that really offends me is that, because Jeb has always been against this. This even goes back to when he was running for the first time for governor, which is, they like to say that, well, he's for, the federal government, with, using the purse strings to try to implement this. And that's something he's absolutely been against is, having the Department of Education play money games with the states. Jeb has always been for, having parents and, local control as possible on things. That's the record that he has here in Florida. That's not just, a position he's putting out there. He has results here on the ground in Florida with all the charter schools we have. I mean, look, our education was abysmal here in the state of Florida. I mean, thank God I went to private school, but, at the time, but, he really turned around our schools. I mean, by any metrics, we were in the toilet here in Florida in education, and he turned it around, launching the first voucher program in the country down here. And even, even was able to do things with education when the state Supreme Court, slapped him down. It was packed with Democrats from Lawton Childs doing it, but he was able to work around it and get a lot of good conservative reforms done. Stuff that's, really filtered around the country. So, Jeb serves as a great straw man, but unfortunately that's just, when you really look at the record, not a lot of it matches up.
Okay, and the other knock that we normally hear when associated with Jeb Bush are his positions on amnesty. Why don't you go into that and try to dispel, put some fears aside, my friend, because there are conservatives out there that think that Jeb Bush is the second coming of Hillary Clinton.
No, look, first off, let's get something straight here. The Republican Party has always been the best friend of the immigrant. Look, we are offering, immigrants who come to this country wanting to better their lives, get a piece of the American dream. We want them here. We've always been accepting of them. It helps renew our country. I think the Republican Party has always been, like I said, we offer a hand up to them, whereas the Democrats are just offering a hand out. So I get uncomfortable sometimes when I hear some of the nativist language that comes out of some corners of the party on this, because look, I absolutely support a pathway to a legal status. We need to get these people out of the dark. We need to get them paying taxes. We need. I mean, it's absolutely shameful. I mean, down here, we're an immigrant community, and when you see what happens to immigrants that because they don't have legal status and they're working, they get exploited by criminals, they get exploited by the system. It's not good. It's not good for any of us, on both sides of that coin. So, look, I think we need to do something about this, and it's not out of this fear that somehow, we need to, that we're going to buy their votes with citizenship or something like that. I think that's absolutely insulting, to say that.
We're going to take a quick commercial break. And while we take this break, folks, I just want to remind everybody, especially on WNJC 1360 AM Phillies Renaissance Station, that this show is up against Rush Limbaugh. Yes, I know, we're not going to win. I get that. But every now and then, when Rush goes to commercial, come check us out. We got a lot of good discussions. We don't pull any punches. All the topics are right on point with what's going on in the news. Give us a listen. Give us a shot. So, I will be right back after this commercial break. Gene Barardelli behind enemy lines right after this.
It's important to plan ahead for emergencies, like the storm. When it kicked in, we had a plan. Separated. We were able to get in touch with each other in no time.
Idea how to find each other.
The whole experience was fine.
The most frightening 10 hours of my life.
If there's one piece of advice I'd offer other moms out there, it's to stay calm and keep to the plan.
Message.
Some parents plan ahead. Some don't. Make sure you know where to find your family in an emergency. Start your plan at ReadyPA.org. Brought to you by ReadyPA, FEMA, and the Ad Council.
Who might you save?
Your mother, your father, your husband, uncle, aunt, son.
Learn FAST, F-A-S-T, the sudden signs of a stroke, and you could save.
Your friend, teacher, boss.
F, face drooping. A, arm weakness. S, speech difficulty. T, time to call 911. F-A-S-T. That's F, face drooping. A, arm weakness. S, speech difficulty. T, time to call 911. The sooner they get to the hospital, the sooner they'll get treatment. And that can make a remarkable difference in the recovery of
your neighbor, the waiter, grandmother, grandfather.
So learn FAST, the sudden signs of a stroke, then pass it on, because you never know who might save you.
Your wife, your colleague.
Spot a stroke fast. Visit strokeassociation.org. Brought to you by the American Stroke Association and the Ad Council. Behind Enemy Lines. Back on the air.
And we are back behind enemy lines. I think you've been a great advocate for Jeb Bush, by the way. I think you're doing a fantastic job. Listen, you still haven't won my vote, but I think you're doing a good job. I don't think he's as liberal as people say he is, first of all. I don't think that he's as conservative as he claims to be. I think it's somewhere in the middle. And I think in the middle is maybe where you want to be this cycle. Listen, everybody's been taking their shot at Jeb, and you've been defending him on the internet, on Facebook, on your Twitter, everywhere you can on social media, being the advocate for Jeb, exclamation point, by the way. You gotta tell me all about the exclamation point one day, because it seems to be everywhere, and all that people can talk about. So here's what we're gonna do. I'm gonna throw out a candidate name to you, and you got your shot to do whatever you want. If you want to talk him up or talk him down, that's up to you. All right?
Okay.
So the first one is, this will be a blast. The first one is Rand Paul.
Isolationist. I can't abide. I love the man's domestic stuff, but foreign policy, he just really loses me.
Okay, next one, Ted Cruz.
Ted Cruz. I don't know. Boy, I wish Ted would be a better senator and try to get along with the Republican majority a little bit. He seems to be, he reminds me a little bit of Don Quixote. He's fighting too many windmills.
Okay. Rick Santorum.
Retread. Let's move on.
Okay. Mike Huckabee.
Another retread. Let's move on.
No. Okay. All right. Here's one that wasn't a retread. George Pataki.
George Pataki. That's an interesting choice. I mean, it seems like it's just too late, doesn't it? I mean, it seems like he would have been a much more viable candidate, the last couple go-rounds. So, I don't know. I just don't see there being enough room for him in this race.
Okay, Lindsey Graham.
I love Lindsey Graham. What's not to like about Lindsey Graham? Great conservative from a very conservative state, South Carolina. No, I mean, I love Lindsey's foreign policy stuff. I mean, that's definitely what I align with a lot more. But he seems like he's going to be a little bit of the kingmaker here. I mean, people forget. I mean, he's got a good, strong following in South Carolina, and that's going to be a very important primary. So, I mean, who knows if he's going to stick in all the way? But a lot of those candidates are going to have to kiss his ring, and it could lead to a South Carolina win.
All right. I personally like the whole idea of rotating first ladies. That's kind of pimpish. That's pretty cool. All right. Here's yeah, absolutely. Here's another one. Rick Perry.
Rick Perry, see, that's, we were talking about him earlier. He's my dark horse candidate in this, especially for if there's going to be some kind of, like what happened last time, which is the anti-establishment candidate, or the anti-Romney, or anti-Jeb, if you want to say it for this time, which is, I really think, Rick Perry here, I call it the I'm not going out like that campaign. He's trying to fix that oops mistake that he did. But, I mean, look, here's a guy that's got good, he's a governor. We Republicans tend to lean more towards governors and senators in our pick. And so far from what I see, I mean, his tone seems to be striking a right balance between, the people that are saying that the party is, it's all full of wishy moderates, and people that have said that it's gone too far to the right. I think he's really strikes a nice tone that I think attracts both people to it.
All right, and finally, I need to know, if it came down to your man Jeb and Marco Rubio, where do you go?
Oh, I got to go with Jeb. Look, I like Marco a lot. We all love Marco here in Florida. And let me say that. I mean, people are expecting this to be some kind of brutal civil war in Florida. It really hasn't happened yet. I mean, people have, I know people on both sides of this, and, we still break bread and get coffee together. It's not a big deal. But, look, I just, and this criticism goes for, Ted Cruz and Rand Paul as well, which is, look, we've just gotten over the horrors of having an inexperienced junior first-term senator as president, and just to turn around and put an R behind the name and say that now that's okay to put a first-term junior senator in office, it's a little too hypocritical for me.
All right, and while some might say I should ask you about Scott Walker, I'm going to ask about who I think is your 1A candidate, your second favorite, just by a hair. Of course, we're all talking about, and this is a private joke between me and Daniel, Thad Cochran. Come on.
Thad Cochran, yes,
I know you love the guy.
Thad Cochran is my troll choice, yes.
Get in line. I love the I love the T-shirt. Tell everybody about the T-shirt graphic you made, and that's been spread around the internet.
Well, it just started as, because some people really lost their minds during that McDaniel Thad Cochran primary, and just a way to needle people. I got the I started the hashtag Thad is rad. So if you want to join my impromptu draft Thad Cochran committee, go ahead and use that on Twitter. So, but I got a couple T-shirts made. It was just to have some fun with it. But
you are trolling at a fourth grade level, my friend.
I'm to get Thad Cochran and Lindsey Graham on the same ticket. That's what I'm trying to do.
Oh, is that the Rhino Dream ticket? Is that what that is?
Yes. Well, let's call it the South Shall Rise ticket. That's what it'll be.
Oh, my goodness. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, we've hit just about the halfway mark here at Behind Enemy Lines. Thanks for tuning in. I'm Gene. Russ is on vacation. And while I got you listening, please check out the official website of this here show. That's www.behindenemylinesradio.us. We broadcast live on Wednesdays at 10 p.m. on We Are America Radio, the #1 political talk station on live365.com. And while I'm doing the plugs here, also check out the official site of the Brooklyn Young Republicans, where this show was created, www.brooklynYRS.com. We got a caller calling in right now from the 760. I'm assuming that's your neck of the woods there, Daniel. So, caller 760, you are on the air with us right now. You're Behind Enemy Lines. Hey there, how you doing? Caller, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, who are you and what do you want to talk about?
This is Jason. I'd actually like to ask Dan a question, if I could.
Dan, are we taking questions tonight, Daniel? Oh, you know what? I might have just bumped him off because I took you on. What is the question, and then I'll get him back on. You know what? Actually, I'm going to get him back on right now, actually, if you want to give me 1 second here.
Sure.
Jason, are you calling from the Florida area?
I'm actually not. I'm actually in Maryland.
Okay, hang on 1 second. I'm going to get him back on the line. Just give me 1 second. Unfortunately, I still haven't gotten used to this whole technology stuff yet, so I'm getting Daniel back on the line with us. It's all my fault. If they had an OSHA sign here, we'd be knocking it back down to 0. Daniel, you back with us?
Yes, I am.
Okay, we got Jason on the line with us from Maryland. He says he has a question for you. I haven't vetted the question, so I take no responsibility whatsoever for what's going to be happening here. Is your question about presidential politics, or is it about something else?
It's actually Dan's actually running for head. If I'm right, if I've been told correctly, Dan's actually running for head of the Young Republicans nationally, not just in Florida.
Actually, I think he's on now, correct me if I'm wrong, Daniel, and, listen, why politics can be a little dicey. So, thanks for the call, and I appreciate it. I'm going to have him answer. Dan, are you running for anything on a national level with the Young Republicans National Federation?
Yeah, for the co-chairman for the Southern Regional Vice Chairmanship for the Young Republicans.
Okay, well, good luck to you on that.
I'm sure. Yeah, I was going to say, I'm sure I could bore your audience with all of the intricacies of our administration, but we could do that another time.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's get back onto topic here for a second. I just want to round out a couple of Jeb Bush things here.
Sure.
If you were given an elevator speech right now to a conservative who was unconvinced that they should be voting for Jeb Bush, what are you telling them in less than 30 seconds?
I would say check out his record here in Florida. You were talking about the greatest conservative reform governor of his generation. And you know what? Go and do it to the people who he put to bed every night, the liberals here in Florida. I mean, he stood up to the teachers union. I mean, the stuff that he did in Florida, it was absolutely amazing. I mean, he had a laundry list of things to get done, and he got them done here in Florida. Turned around our economy. I mean, we're still growing. Thank God the economy grew. We survived the recession because of what he did. Our education system's better because of him. Look, his record here in Florida, that's exactly what he's going to bring to the White House.
All right. Well, listen, when we come back from this next break, we're going to be talking about another candidate. Yes, another candidate that announced this week. And did he steal Jeb Bush's thunder? Or did he just turn the Republican primary into a joke? We're, of course, talking about the Donald Trump, and we'll be talking about his campaign when we come back right after this break. By the way, Daniel, I don't know if you know this, but we give equal time on every show to liberals by playing, thanks to the Washington Free Beacon, a couple of clips from the Reverend Al Sharpton. So that's what we're going to do now. I want you to sit back and enjoy it. Oh, we love him here, too. Sit back and enjoy the Reverend Al. Gene Baradelli, Behind the Enemy Lines. We'll be back right after this. The show will be right back. But first, a word from Al Sharpton.
Good evening, Rev. Thanks
Good evening,
to
Rev.
you, Ed. Is this Groundhog Day 2? We are watching that was Attorney General Eric Holder, ABDs, about some Republicans at home are already beating the drums of war. Today, the Pentagon refuted that claim. And he said the American people do not want him to, quote, dwindling, they do not want him dwindling his thumbs. You can get a gig as a contortionist. Intravenous fluids and pills coated with gelatin. We don't leave our women or men in uniform behind. It's a monument to the hubris of Dick Cheney. Representative Raul Labrador. Years of abuse. I personally apologize to Mr. Peebles. Just ask to soon-to-be former Congressman. Democrats are outright jitty. CIA's counterterrorism center. Veteran Affairs Secretary Shinseki. Why do I always mess up his name? Shinseki. I love my critics. I have fun with that.
Politics Nation with the Reverend Al Sharpton starts right now. Good evening, Rev.
Good evening, Dr. Dyson.
But wait, there's more.
And we will much about that be committed. So there's no real conflict. Michael Druniak, including Lincoln himself, Daniel Day-Lewis. Behind Monica Lewinsky, the one and only Trey Songz is here. But Allison Lundergan Grimes, Gina De Jesus, when Gina De Jesus, Tea Party challenger Matt Bivens. People don't want to have their Social Security overall. The Republican savior, Mark Rubio's big night in evolution and Galileo. I mean, this whole thing of Galileo. America's changed. unless IT and Skillets, President Putin doing something similar back in, it won't change this fundamental fact about the GOP. Just how absurd these attacks is. Nearly 6 months after the dangerous traffic jam, the Thai military says, my friend for many years, Ilyana Van Zandt. There's nothing there.
And all we can get is an internet show? Let's get back to it. Let's get back to the show now. Gene Barardelli back behind enemy lines. And joining me tonight, of course, Daniel Ross has been on with us the whole time. Daniel, plug yourself online right now. Your Twitter, the Florida Federation of Young Republicans, all the stuff that you're doing. Now is the time to talk about yourself, your favorite subject. Go for it.
My favorite subject. Well, yeah, you can find us. I'm the chairman of the Florida Federation of Young Republicans. Find us at Twitter at FFYR. You can follow me at Fort Lauderdaniel. That's FT Lauderdaniel. You can definitely hear my musings, and I do a lot of sports talking, or trolling, as some people like to say on there. So yeah, go ahead and find me there. And of course, if you really want to get to know me, go ahead and send me a Facebook request. That's where you can find me.
Absolutely, and of course, Daniel, we really have to thank you for coming on the show because we know that you're in mourning after Golden State took down LeBron and the Cavs. So he's 2-4 now in the finals. Sorry to hear it.
Morning. What happens in Miami stays in Miami, and that's championships.
Well, apparently not this year.
Unfortunate
but also
good for the Heat.
Yes. It's also unfortunate that he's not better than Jordan now. The argument is over. But moving on from that, on the line joining us right now as well, from Politichicks, Mona Salama. Mona, how you doing?
Hi.
We're going to be talking about Donald Trump now, and Mona was happy and, kind enough, I should say, to pass along this clip that she found. To some, it may sound like the Reverend Al clip we just played, but take a listen to this, everybody, and we'll come back and talk about it when it's done.
I beat China all the time. When was the last time you saw a Chevrolet in Tokyo? When do we beat Mexico at the border? They're laughing at us. They're bringing drugs. They're bringing crime. They're rapists. The big lie, Obamacare. $5 billion we spent on a website. I hire people. They do a website. It costs me $3. Are you running? Are you not running? I am officially running for President of the United States. We need a leader that wrote The Art of the Deal. I will be the greatest jobs president that God ever created. Free trade can be wonderful if you have smart people. But we have people that are stupid. I like China. I just sold an apartment for $15 million to somebody from China. They have bridges that make the George Washington Bridge look like small potatoes. I don't need anybody's money. It's nice. I'm really rich. I love the Saudis. Many are in this building. Obama, a year ago, Yemen was a great victory. 2 weeks later, the place was blown up. We're dying. We're dying. We need money. Thank you, darling. But Mr. Trump, you're not a nice person. We don't need nice. That's true. But actually, I am. I think I am a nice person. We have losers. We have losers. I would build a great wall, and nobody builds walls better than me, believe me. Nobody would be tougher on ISIS than Donald Trump. We won't be using a man like Secretary Kerry, goes into a bicycle race at 72 years old and falls and breaks his leg. I won't be doing that. The American dream is dead. But if I get elected president, I will bring it back bigger and better and stronger than ever before, and we will make America great again. Thank you. Thank you very much.
So those are some of what we're going to let's call them highlights. Let's call them highlights. I don't know what we're going to call them, but those are some of the notable quotables from the speech given by Donald Trump. Clearly, he did not have a script, Mona.
Oh, no, he had a script, but he just went off the script, actually, because I got an email from his press secretary, and it was like 4 pages, but his speech was like an hour long, so.
Well, maybe he's just a slow reader. I don't know. Daniel, let me just bring you in for a second. Is this the second coming of Ross Perot?
He could be. I mean, the man has an ego, so, I mean, why not? If he can't get the Republican nomination, maybe he'll keep the fame train going there and launch a third-party movement. I mean, I'm not sure it would be as big as Ross Perot, but yeah, I mean, he could certainly play spoiler.
And I think that's the concern of a lot of people in the RNC right now. Hey, Mona, let me ask you this.
Yeah.
I know that we had a little bit of fun with Trump right now, but give me, the end of his speech, you got to give it to him. He's got the rallying cry of making America great, and he's talking about job creation. Things that definitely need to be talked about in a Republican campaign, wouldn't you say?
Well, yeah, he's speaking his mind. He doesn't, mice his words around. He tells it how it is, and he's not, eloquent when he says it. He speaks like a real New Yorker. He's just going to tell you how it is. It's just the way how he says it and his cockiness.
Right. Now, of course, the line that everybody took from it, and that, Mona, that we saw on the cover of the New York papers here, was a gold-plated Trump sign over the top of the White House. Is the fact that he is... Absolutely. I saw it on your Twitter, at Political Crazy. I'm glad you learned how to plug yourself. That's really cool. But tell me this. Are people going to be turned off because of the arrogant one-percenter persona that Trump has branded himself to be with his reality shows and his books and everything else that he's put his name on, from Atlantic City to across the world?
Well, there's no more Atlantic City with him. Both his hotels got shut down last summer. He's just out of touch, He can't, go out there and be like, I'm very rich, when we have liberals attacking us saying that we're very rich when we're actually just average Joes, just like every liberal out there, struggling to make ends meet and struggling to survive with, as they're, taxing us away so they can go support people that come here illegal or don't want to work and they want to enjoy the welfare benefits.
Yeah, I mean, it depends. I mean, the American people, we do like a braggart. I mean, and I think that's, Mona does make a good point. There's a disconnect there, certainly with blue-collar America and with him being super rich. But I think he does a very smart thing, which is he embraces it. He's not ashamed of being rich. I think that's one of the biggest criticisms I had about, what they did with Mitt Romney when they tried to sell him to the American people was they were always trying to make him be some kind of blue-collar guy. And you just can't do that. And they should have instead at least had a little bit of what Donald Trump has, which is embrace it. Don't be ashamed of that he's, dirty, stinking, rotten, filthy rich. He's going to say, look, I achieved this in America. This is the American dream. I want to help you get to your American dream. So I think that does go it will go a long way to neutralizing that disconnect. But, I mean, will it overcome it? We'll see. I mean, the American people are very fickle. We might like braggart, but we don't like arrogance. So we'll see what happens.
All right, listen, Mona, I want to talk to you more about what you think his team is going to be branding him as. I mean, he does have some political people behind him, right? This isn't just a vanity campaign, I hope.
I don't know. He's just new into the political game, and, him bashing politicians, whether it be Chap or Rubio, and, he's saying, I deal with politicians, and he's kind of right. They are full of, crap. But you can't, they're actually out there trying to do something, and you're out there saying, I'm very rich. I just sold a building to China for $15 million. Or, Saudis are the best, blah, 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 blah. He really, needs to, polish up, and, polish up really bad. And I'm not talking about his hair.
Yeah, I mean, well, the hair is iconic at this point. But now, okay, so I'm going to ask both of you this question. Mona, I'm going to start with you, because you're the one that brought me the Trump segment, and I'm glad that you did. Talk to me about a path to victory for Donald Trump. I don't see him glad-handing with the masses to try to, stump in Iowa and New Hampshire to get votes. Do you think that Trump will be coachable enough to actually do the retail politicking that's necessary?
I don't know. I think he's just entering the race to be a big distraction. And take away votes from real candidates who are out there, who are truly out there in the long run. And we've been hearing this since 1988, even before when I was born. He was going to run. He was going to run. Remember last year when he was going to run for governor of our state of New York, and then he says that the Republican Party needs to get it together, or I'm not doing anything with them. And he just flip flops. That 1 minute he's a Republican, next minute he's a Democrat. When he said he was going to run in 2000 or something, he said he was going to have Oprah in his ticket. It's just dude, make up your mind.
It's a great point about what you said about the governor's race in New York. He actually held up the Republican Party saying, I want to run unopposed, clear the path of all of the candidates, and I'll run. Otherwise, I'm not.
No.
Great point.
Well, actually, he said the only way I was going to run if the Republican Party in New York State can get it together and unite. That's just asking for liberals and Republicans to be best friends. That was never going to happen in New York. Whatever Republicans we have left in New York, all we do in New York is fight for crumbs, and we don't fight the bigger picture. And look how the liberals are destroying our city, especially New York City, with like their policy. And look how like Clinton could come to New York City and cause it to make it like a wreck.
Absolutely. Daniel, Amanda Coat is saying in the chat room that in her experience in politicking, and she does have some experience, she's been on the show before as a contributor and a guest host, she says that business people are horrible candidates because they're not used to being managed. Can you see any political flack, helping Donald Trump become a coachable candidate?
Yeah, I don't think so. Look, I mean, billionaires and, successful people like that, they do have a problem, which is, you see this in sports a lot of times, which is, someone, a real estate mogul makes $1 billion in real estate, and he thinks, well, because I was good in this, because I excelled in this, because I was a genius in this, well, I'm going to be a genius in all things. And that's just not the case. I mean, business is not politics. I'm really curious as to what Trump's reaction is going to be when real arrows start getting thrown at him. Because, look, here's a man who's been in the public eye. Here's a man who said some very outrageous statements, over the years. And what's going to happen when some of the candidates go after him, when they sling these arrows at him? I mean, is he going to get petulant and fight back, and the voters get turned off by all of the negativity? I mean, it's going to be very. I just don't think that his apprentice audience, while his shtick may work there, I don't think that's the Republican electorate in a primary, and that's going to be his problem.
Great point, Mona. Will Donald Trump be too combative when he's attacked by other candidates? He's great at slinging the arrows, but can he take them?
Like, I saw his interview with Hannity, and I saw his interview with Bill O'Reilly, and every time he asks a question, he's like, I'm not going to talk about it. Or he'll say, like, they're stupid, or they're idiotic, or, like, the guy with no IQ. He's gonna attack them personally. He's not gonna attack them on policies or affairs, and that's gonna be a big turnoff for real Republican voters who are out there worried about this country, worried about what's gonna happen in the next 18 months. While he's gonna go and attack personally and saying you guys are a bunch of stupid politicians.
Absolutely right. Trump will be a sideshow, in my opinion. I'm going to put it out there right now. I love the man. Listen, he's a pioneer in real estate. And he has shown that he does have the secret to success when it comes to real estate transactions. But he's also very prickly, like you guys have been saying. And like Amanda said in the chat room, I don't see him humbling himself to listen to a campaign advisor and actually hiding his personality. Because that's what he's going to have to do, in my opinion. He's going to have to hide his personality. I want to give both of you guys the last word on Donald Trump. I'm going to start with you, Daniel, then you, Mona. Go ahead, Dan.
I agree with you, Gene. I think he's a sideshow, but he can cause some real damage to some people. I mean, look, this is a man with incredible resources. I mean, I certainly wouldn't want to be on the dark side of, Donald Trump with, a billionaire being able to hire private investigators and, his spin machine to put things in the context that he wants it. That's happened in your life. I mean, he could cause some real damage for people out there, not, whether it's personally slinging mud or whether it's, even on some of the issues. Like I said, I'm going to wait and see if he kicks some of his money in the race, if he really starts building the campaign team, at a 50-state machine, then I'll start taking him seriously. But right now, it just looks like Trump doing what Trump does best, and that's self-promotion.
Mona, you get the last word.
He really needs some major lessons on foreign policy. Like, he says that he can destroy ISIS by bombing their oil. Who cares about their other cities? He says he could build a wall, and he's very good at doing that. Like, what do you mean you're very good at doing that? Like, what are you trying to say? And then he said he has a solution to destroy ISIS, but he doesn't want to say it because he doesn't want ISIS to know. Like, he needs to really stop with this, like, I could do this and I could do that, but he's all talk but no action.
All right, there you go. Of course, we'll be monitoring this closely because, as Mona pointed out on her Twitter account, @PoliticalCrazy, he's actually been polling well in Iowa. And it's kind of scary to think of Donald Trump on that first podium with the top 10 polling candidates. Yeah, that's scary, isn't it, Mona?
It's scary because they said, like, yesterday in Bill O'Reilly, he said, like, you know, the first debate with Fox, you're actually going to probably be there because you're actually, with the Fox polling, you're leading over Rick Perry, Rick Santorum, you're over Huckabee, Pataki, and Graham, so he'd probably be the top 10. But then, like, let's see how he talks. Actually, in a month from today is the first debate, so we'll see what happens, and let's see how he acts. And hopefully he actually has, he actually says what he means when he talks, and not attack these other 9 guys that are there, or a woman if Carly makes it.
All right, well, absolutely. Good job, you guys. It's getting down to the end of the show now, and it's time for this week's Buffoon of the Week. But before we get to this week's Buffoon of the Week, we got to deal with last week's Buffoon of the Week. We did a poll, as we always do, on www.BehindEnemyLinesRadio.us. Who was the buffoon last week? Is it Marilyn Mosby, or was it the video of that high school catcher throwing elbows at people crossing the plate? You voted, and the high school catcher actually took down Marilyn Mosby. To me, a bit of an upset. So, to that young lady out there, congratulations, you're a buffoon. And now it's time for this week's buffoon. So I'm going to say out there right now, I don't even know if we should have a contest this week. I'm making a motion right now, because we do things with bylaws right here on Behind Enemy Lines Radio, and we follow our rules. I am making a motion for unanimous consent.
How to follow the rules?
Yeah, right. New York doesn't follow no rules. I am making a motion right now for unanimous consent among our audience in the chat room and among my guests on the show right now. There is nobody beating Rachel Dolezal this week at all. I'm sorry, it's not even a competition. I want unanimous consent for that right now. What do you think, Mona?
I blame her parents. I say her parents should have just shut her mouth and, like, let her do whatever she wanted to do, because the lady was making good money, and now she's out of a job. I blame her parents. I don't care if you want to say you're black, you're white, you're a tiger, you're a lion, you're a dog, you're whatever the hell you want to say you are. Her parents should have shut her damn mouth. Been proud that her daughter is probably making $500,000 working there. I would assume that. And good luck to you, because I know if my mom ever did that, I swear to God, I will go and counter her and embarrass her 10 times worse. And I love my mom to death, but still, her parents should shut the hell up and just let her.
Hello, Mrs. Salama. Good to hear from you. Say hi to Mom now, Mona. Say hi to Mom.
Hi, Mom. Mom, I love you. But we fight all the time.
There you go. All right, Daniel, is Rachel Dolezal the one? Come on.
I don't know. Well, can we get her to run as a Republican? Let's see what she has to say about things. We'll put her on the stage as well.
Oh, my goodness. All right, so I'm getting some feedback.
She says she is a Republican, but she's actually registered Democrat.
All right, I'm getting some feedback in the chat room right now, guys. People want to nominate either the NAACP or Donald Trump's backers because, as Amanda Cohut is saying, if things lead to another announcement for the next season of The Apprentice, then they deserve what they get.
I forgot to put this in. I just read an article from Business Insider. Those people that were screaming were reported paid actors for cheering him on. I'm gonna send the link right now in the chat. And
all right, so there you go. So we got a competition.
Those people.
So we got a competition. Great. So we got a competition, you guys. It's going to be Rachel Dolezal versus the fake Trump activists. That's going to be Buffoon of the Week this week. I want to thank my guest, Mona Salama. Check her out at Political Crazy. And check us out on Politichicks. She's doing a great job there. Daniel Ross, chair of the Florida Federation of Young Republicans. Thank you guys so much for coming on the show. I got to wrap things up real quick. So I'm just going to hang up on you because that's my style. Take care, guys. So now, folks, time for the end of the show. Time for me to wrap things up. I want to thank everybody for listening to the show. Final thought time from me. Basically, it just got a lot rockier in the Republican primary with Donald Trump in it. Jeb's in. We knew that was coming. Trump's in. Get ready for a bumpy ride. That's it for me. We're going to shut it down here. Thanks for listening to Behind Enemy Lines Radio, and we are out of here. Our position has been compromised. It's time to roll out. Report for debriefing at www.BehindEnemyLinesRadio.us and look for regular communications via Facebook and Twitter at BEL_radio. You are the resistance. Behind Enemy Lines. Part of the Conservative Commandos Radio Network. A rock radio production. Copyright 2015. Back in 7 days. Out.